The original Kingdom of Amalur was released in 2012. That was 8 years ago. Unfortunately, the game flopped, and the developer 38 Studios went bankrupt. But, in the years afterwards, the game grew a solid cult following. It had all the ingredients of a successful title. The head designer had worked on Elder Scrolls titles, the legendary fantasy writer R.A. Salvatore helped write the lore and flesh out the game, and the score was composed by Grant Kirkhope, one of the brains behind music for Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong. Now, for all of us fans, the crew over at THQ Nordic have given us Re-Reckoning. The question is, does this re-release have what it takes to hang with current standards, or has it simply become outdated? Kingdom of Amalur is a high fantasy action RPG set in a world being torn apart by war. The Tuatha, a radical subgroup of an ancient and mystical race, the Fae, have started a conquest which will likely end in the destruction of all races. You play as the Fateless One. You were tasked with stopping the Tuatha and bringing peace to the land. It's not really said how you died, but you did. The game starts with your body being dumped in a pile of dead bros. But you were different. Through the use of the soul well, your soul was guided back to your body, giving you life again. As the first successful experiment of the soul well, you are upsettingly the last as the Tuatha roll in and strap Crystal C4 to the well's two main towers, destroying it in an act of what could only be described as terrorism. This action forces you out into the realm of Amalur. Everyone in this world is bound by fate. It serves as a tapestry of what is yet to come. Some special people, called Fate Weavers, can read this tapestry. You meet one and shortly find out you are no longer bound by fate. You're special too. It is assumed this was caused by your reincarnation from the Soul Well. The main changes that come with Kingdom of Amalur Re-Reckoning are the new zone level calculations, so you just don't stomp every critter you find when backtracking for side quests, changes to loot generation and the removal of level lock rules to areas to prevent you constantly getting low level loot, visual improvements so the console players can finally see what all the hentai hype was about, and last but not least, a whole new difficulty mode, which was actually kind of challenging. To be very honest though, I don't personally see or feel many of these changes, but I have been told that the visual changes have really helped the game on console. The combat in Re-Reckoning is really tight. It's not overly complex, but has enough depth that you will feel a sense of achievement in most fights. Early levels are spent spamming the same attacks and spells, but as you level up and unlock more combos and spells, combat becomes rhythmic and addictive, comparable to God of War. Dodging and blocking are just as important as each other, and you'll need to master them both to not be interrupted in fights. The last hit of a chain locks you in an animation, making combo cancelling a necessary tactic when fighting more than one enemy, which I kind of like because it rewards the player for mastering more advanced techs. Healing is instant. As soon as you press the button, your character necks a health potion, without any visual cue or interruption, meaning that dying really comes down to not stocking enough health potions and not being prepared. Combat rarely feels threatening because of the instant healing, but it always feels satisfying. My personal opinion here is that if they did away with the instant healing, but allowed you to do animation cancel during combos by dodging or blocking, it would help balance the OP healing system and put some more weight into each encounter. That being said, if you play a squishy class, you'll occasionally be one-shot killed, but this is usually from an enchanted chest rather than a raging enemy. I found different classes being just as fun as each other. You can use an array of weapons, 3 specific to each skill tree. Might has longswords, hammers and greatswords. Finesse has bows, daggers and feyblades. Sorcery has staffs, wands and chakras. I developed a preference to the greatsword as it has a good number of combos allowing you to hit hard and have a level of complexity to fighting. Destinies are basically vocations or classes for each discipline. As you level up and spend more points in the 3 skill trees, greater destinies become open to you. Might, typical strength and chad builds, finesse is focused on dex and homoerotica, and sorcery is for your attempted intellectuals. No matter which path you go down, your character will feel just as powerful being a solo finesse build versus a cross-class. For example, if you evenly spec into all 3 discipline trees and unlock the Universalist Destiny, you pretty much become the hero from Fable, able to do it all at a high level, but you won't feel any more OP or broken than any other skill tree of the same level. This is all at the cost of unlocking the top tier skills in each tree. This does a good job to promote playing your way rather than the need to be a filthy power gamer. From swords bigger than your character to cross-dimensional velociraptors, this game has every high fantasy trope you can imagine. This is complemented by beautiful and diverse playable areas. The dungeons are not as repetitive as Skyrim, but they lean more on the repetitive side, but you would not notice unless looking for it. Backdrops are great, from giant mountains to vast underground cities. The backdrops maybe are a little bit too good, as it made me feel like I was constantly scratching only the surface of Amalur. This issue is amplified by the grandiose scale the game gives you. With the updated camera settings such as field of view and camera distance, you can really take in how beautiful the world is. But it only makes me realize how one-dimensional the area you explore is. I think if it offered more vertical level design, it would have helped fill in these large but untouched backdrops. But for 2012, that's excusable. The real problem with the visuals is, although this game was called a remaster, it barely feels like it visually. Like I said before, apparently you can see a difference on console, but I mean, that's console. The lore is deep in Kingdoms of Amalur, the Re-Reckoning. The main game, made up of story, faction, and side missions, will take you over 100 hours to 100% finish. The main quest line takes about 30 to 40 hours by itself. This is all without touching the expansions. So, there is a decent amount of content here. If you appreciate lore and like to nerd out, then this game has you covered. It is genuinely a great universe to get immersed in. A side note on the side missions. Every town you come across will have a few side missions. The thing is, those side missions will all be somewhat connected and contribute to a greater narrative for that town or city. This makes the world feel much deeper and alive, and makes each town you visit feel unique, like an actual episode of a grander story. But that's only if you pay attention to all the details and actually let the NPCs speak, instead of mashing the skip button like an introvert wishes they could when approached by a co-worker who doesn't get the friendly hints that no one really cares about their cat, children, or hobbies. Well, to answer my own question at the start of this video, does Kingdoms of Amalur: The Re-Reckoning hold up with today's standards? Short answer, yes. But is the remaster worth buying? Well, it's not that much of an improvement to really warrant unless you're on console. Emotionally, I want to say yes, buy the remaster for PC, but logically you can buy the original for cheaper and it will pretty much look and feel much the same. That being said, the same is a good thing, as the combat is really well done and there is so much story and content to get a decent experience out of. That's why I give this game 6.7 out of 10.